The Assembly will hear an address by His Excellency Abdalla Hamdok, Prime Minister of the Republic of Sudan. I have great pleasure in welcoming the Prime Minister of the Republic of Sudan and invite him to address the General Assembly.
Sayyid Rais,
Mr. President, Your Majesties, Highnesses, Excellencies, Heads of State and Government, Excellencies, Ministers, Heads of Delegations, Your Excellency, Secretary General of the United Nations, ladies and gentlemen, may the peace and blessing of God be upon you. On behalf of the government and the people of the Sudan, I would like to wish this session all the best. I would like to congratulate Your Excellency, Ambassador Mohammed Bandi, on your election as President of the General Assembly at this current session. I would also like to thank all members of the General Committee, and I wish you all success. I would like to express my appreciation for the skill and competence of Her Excellency Ambassador Maria Espinosa of Ecuador as President of the 73rd session. Mr. President, the great people of the Sudan revolted to restore the values of human coexistence and social cohesion in the Sudan, and to end 3 decades of oppression, discrimination, and infighting. They sought to start a new chapter in their history, written with the blood, sweat, and sacrifices of their people. Since last December, and for 3 months, the men and women of the Sudan, confronted with unparalleled courage, one of the most cruel regimes in history. They had no weapon except for their peaceful revolution, their unity, and their determination to move towards the future. The flame of the revolution continues to burn as a guarantee to achieve its own goals. The Great French Revolution adopted as a slogan the principles of liberty, fraternity, and equality when it sought to liberate its people in the 18th century. The Sudanese Revolution in the 21st century adopted the slogan freedom, peace, justice. Thus reviving the principles of that great revolution in order to free the Sudanese people from the shackles of oppression and indignity, to contribute alongside other people in building a prosperous world that would accommodate us all, a world that speaks to our conscience. Our victory was made possible thanks to the direct support of the international community, including the Security Council, the General Assembly, the African Union, IGAD, the League of Arab States, the OIC, the European Union, and the Troika, namely the USA, the United Kingdom, and Norway, as well as our brothers in Ethiopia, Egypt, South Sudan, Chad, Eritrea, Saudi Arabia, the UAE, Kuwait, and Qatar. And I would like to thank them all. I would also like to thank all our friends and partners who have supported and continue to support us to this day. Mr. President, I stand before you today representing the will of my dignified people, of which I am proud, as they march firmly towards the future, as a friend and a partner on equal footing of all peace-loving nations. The people of the Sudan is seeking to start a new phase, different from the past 3 decades, reaching out to all our neighbors and to the world, guided by the principles of humanity and our wisdom. We are committed to the principles of international law, international human rights law, in order to eliminate discrimination, exploitation, injustice, and inequality. We are committed to promoting these instruments and conventions. We also commit to all diplomatic norms of good neighborliness and cooperation among nations, namely respect for sovereignty, independence, and non-interference in the internal affairs of other states. We remain committed to maintaining international peace and security. The transitional government believes that relations among nations must be based on mutual and common interests, as well as positive cooperation for the good of the people. Our world, with its resources and its wealth, is large enough for all of us, so that we can all live in prosperity and in peace. Mr. President, with our glorious revolution, the Sudanese people has thought to end a dark era of regional and international isolation, which left us with a list of international sanctions, such as including us on the list of states sponsor of terrorism. Let me be clear, the Sudanese people has never been a sponsor or a supporter of terrorism. It was the regime, the former regime, that supported terrorism, and the Sudanese people revolted against it. These sanctions have caused tremendous suffering to our people. Therefore, we call on the United States to remove the Sudan from the list of state sponsor of terrorism and to stop punishing the people of the Sudan for crimes committed by the former regime. We hope that our request will be welcomed and approved, so that we can accelerate our reconstruction and development efforts to erase the traces of the past 3 decades under the former regime. Mr. President, we understand the daunting challenges facing our country, including the need to end the war and to achieve comprehensive and lasting peace. We are aware that we must achieve comprehensive and inclusive justice by addressing the root causes that led to the war in the first place, including economic exclusion and cultural, ethnic, and religious discrimination. We are aware of the need to restore our social cohesion and peaceful coexistence, as well as a culture of peace and tolerance among our people. We are determined to build a state rooted in rule of law, citizenship, and balanced development, a state that would protect and safeguard the rights of the Sudanese people in their country and around the world. We also stress the need to address the situation of IDPs and refugees while compensating them for the damages incurred. Improving the standard of living and a better life for all people, especially in the regions affected, will be a priority for us in the Sudan. Managing the ethnic, religious, linguistic, and cultural diversity in the Sudan, while celebrating such diversity as a source of strength rather than strife and division, will strengthen the pillars of lasting peace and will provide the necessary conditions where Sudanese cultures can interact and flourish together. Mr. President, the Sudanese government during the transitional period will seek to put the Sudan back on the track of development towards achieving the SDGs by 2030. We support the title of the current session focused on poverty eradication, quality education, and climate action by launching a comprehensive national development plan based on economic governance, combating corruption, committing to transparency and integrity, and a judicious planning of our natural resources to ensure self-sufficiency and better exchanges with the region and the world. We are also committed to supporting health and education services and clean water supplies, as well as other services. These are not merely services or obligations towards our people. They are an investment in the future of our nation, in our working force, in our children and young people. Therefore, we hope that the international community will support us in this endeavor, especially in the upcoming period. We would like to refer to the accumulating foreign debt exacerbated by the policies of the former regime that overlooked its international commitments and mismanaged its resources and its relations with foreign parties. This is an urgent issue that must be addressed at the international level, taking into account the current living conditions in the country and the need for the state to continue providing the necessary social services. The civilian government, which was the result of the Sudanese revolution, will not leave anyone behind in our development journey, which we started after the revolution. Mr. President, I would like to pay tribute to the women and men of the Sudan. Especially Sudanese women that have shown unparalleled audacity and courage while participating actively in the Sudanese revolution. The government is committed to eliminating all forms of institutional and social discrimination against women in the transitional period.
وقد بدأنا فعلا هذه الخطوة بإجراء
And we have started by adopting concrete measures. Today, in the Sovereign Council, 2 women were elected to that council, one of them a Copt. And for the first time, a woman will play the role of a foreign minister in the Sudan.
أما الشباب من الجنسين والذين
Young people, which are the majority of our population, were the most affected by the general collapse in the Sudan over the past 3 decades. They were forced to die in capsized boats on the illegal routes of migration. They were also forced to take part in civil wars. It is time to put an end to this situation. The young men and women of the Sudan made this revolution, and they will make their future as they wish, and the state will be there to help them. Mr. President, in closing, we are committed to achieving the goals of our revolution, translating our legitimate aspirations into reality, so that the Sudan, over the 3 coming years, can regain its natural status, befitting our civilization and our history. We call upon the international community and all members of the United Nations with an open mind to contribute with us in building a new world, a world of prosperity, peace, and love among the nations of the world, in line with the slogan of our revolution: freedom, peace, justice. Thank you, Mr. President.
I thank, on behalf of the General Assembly, I wish to thank the Prime Minister of the Sudan for the statement just made, and I request protocol to escort His Excellency